The Ratchet & Clank series has some pretty unique villains compared to other gaming franchises, but only 5 will make it onto today's Top 5. How's it going, everyone? Blueknight here, and welcome back to another Ratchet & Clank video. It's been a little while since I last made a Ratchet & Clank video, let alone a top 5 video. Anyways, in today's top 5 video, I'll be going over my personal top 5 Ratchet & Clank villains. Now, to be fair, I had a hard time choosing some of these villains for the video, as the series itself has so many villains that I do really enjoy, with very few that I don't really enjoy that much. Now, a quick note before I begin, I will be including some series lore in this video. Reason for this is to show, well, reasoning for liking these characters the way I do. With all that said, let's get started with number 5, Captain Slag. Okay, so probably the primary reason why I like this villain is because he's a pirate. Well, a robot space pirate, so to speak, who, along with the other robot pirates, including his first mate, Rusty Pete, who's kind of like Slag's equivalent to Lawrence with Dr. Nefarious, which is where most of Slag's humor comes from, is being annoyed by Pete.
The end. Wanna hear it again?
I didn't want to hear it the first time, ye mangy old bucket of balls!
All the robot pirates were created by Emperor Tachyon to gather Lombax's technology for him. Once they found enough, Tachyon banished all of them to Praxis 7. Before Slag took over as captain, Captain Darkwater was in charge. That was until Slag double-crossed him. Slag is probably one of the most recurring and one of the most interesting newly introduced villains in the future saga. He even possesses numerous abilities depending on the body he's using. In Tools of Destruction, his arm can change into hooks, hammers, a coffee mug, and after drinking said coffee, he can then breathe fire. Okay, I'm just joking, it's not really coffee. In Captain Darkwater's body, he appeared to be a good swordsman. However, that was only the case when he wasn't getting his sword stuck in the floor, that is. With Darkwater's spectral aura, he became even more powerful. Slag, being at number 5, is mainly got to do with just about everything with the character, especially the whole pirate theme, which I can thank the Pirates of the Caribbean films for getting me started on pirate-themed media and characters. Number 4, Emperor Tachyon. This is actually where I started having trouble deciding between the Thugs for Less leader or Emperor Tachyon for number 4 on this top 5 list. Both are very entertaining characters, no question about that, but in terms of actual story, Tachyon wins that one, as the story behind Tachyon's species, the Kragmites, goes as deep and as far back as Ratchet's species, the Lombaxes, where both species fought during the Great War before the Lombaxes banished the Kragmites to another dimension, that is, all except for Tachyon, whose egg was found by Lombaxes long after these events. They raised Tachyon on their home planet, Fastoon. Tachyon was peaceful toward the Lombaxes until he learned of his own species' origins. After that, he wanted to destroy all Lombaxes after what they did to his kind and find the Lombax secret to bring back the Kragmites, eventually creating an army and taking control over most of the Polaris galaxy. I will go deeper into this, but that's another video entirely. Plus, this is a top 5 video, not necessarily an entirely lore-based video. So it's mainly for Tachyon's deep story, and humor is what makes him one of my favorites. Plus, he kind of reminds me of Ripto from the Spyro the Dragon series, which is another series developed by Insomniac Games. You know, with the large head, the scepter, red gem, being short,
Bring it on, shorty!
and having an overall dislike of the main character's species. Putting this all together makes Tachyon one of the best new villains introduced in the future saga. Number 3, Vendra Prog. Okay, being this close to Halloween, I just had to include a villain from the spookiest of Ratchet & Clank titles into the Nexus, and that villain is none other than Vendra Prog. Both Vendra and her brother, Neftin Prog, are species of creature known as Nevers. They were sent to Ratchet's dimension from the Neververse at a young enough age to adapt to this new dimension. How they got to Ratchet's dimension was via never rifts that the Great Clock left behind after it repaired the damage done to the space-time continuum caused by the Fongoids. Even though Vendra is number 3 on this list, she still remains as my number 1 new villain introduced in the future saga, and there's a few reasons for that. For one, her powers are supernatural based. This includes telekinesis, manipulating objects, creating energy waves, etc., etc. These powers were given to her as a gift from Mr. I, you know, the Never leader that betrayed her. So basically, she's the only supernatural themed villain in the entire series, which is kind of fitting for the Ratchet & Clank game that Insomniac intended to have a scarier tone and feel. At the same time, she's also the second major female villain in the series, the first being Courtney Gears from Ratchet & Clank 3. The other reason is her personality and backstory. Despite Into the Nexus being one of the shortest Ratchet & Clank games, there's no shortage of backstory, character development, and depth to Vendra's character. Vendra at first has a dark personality, and as Talon put it, cold and empty. This was only because she was driven to do whatever it took, no matter who or what got in the way, to achieve her goal of being reunited with her kind, the Nevers, by means of using a Dimensionator to bring them to Ratchet's dimension. Reason for this is because her and Nefton could not return to the Neververse after residing in Ratchet's dimension for far too long. Vendra was similar to Ratchet in this sense, except she was willing to take risks and endanger the galaxy in the process of achieving her goals, which is the opposite of Ratchet, who was not willing to take the risks of using the Dimensionator and the Great Clock just to be reunited with the Lombaxes, something that Azimuth was willing to do in a crack in time, no matter the cost, to undo his mistakes. Anyways, after Vendra was betrayed by the Never leader, her personality changed completely to, well, sad, more vulnerable at first, which is understandable. You work to be reunited with your kind for years, only to be betrayed by your kind's leader, and overall, much kinder to those around her, although didn't exactly like the idea of going to jail.
Where are we going?
A deal's a deal. We're going to jail.
Put me down! I will not go to jail!
Now, this is the type of character development and depth that I really enjoy from this series, and it particularly stands out with Vendra compared to other Ratchet & Clank villains. I really enjoyed what Insomniac did with the character, and hopefully we'll get to see her return in a post Into the Nexus game, although I wouldn't see her as being a villain this time around, but who knows. Number 2, Captain Qwark. So, for this portion of the video, I'm only referring to Qwark's appearances in the main series, not the movie PS4 reimagining, as he's basically the same character in that. Anyways, in the first 2 games, Captain Qwark was a villain because of him seeking fame and money, allowing Drek to destroy planets, betray Ratchet & Clank, and creating the proto-pet problem just to be the famous hero everyone thinks he is. Well, he tried to rebuild on that in the second game, and that ultimately fails. Very badly.
Mommy!
Now, Qwark's character was redeemed in the third game of his villainous acts, and also became less selfish and looking out only for himself. Okay, maybe not so much that last part, as he was willing to serve Tachyon just to save himself because of his cowardice. Overall, I personally really enjoyed Captain Qwark's character in his role of comedy relief. Like Drek puts it.
Oh, you really are an idiot.
Yep, that describes Captain Qwark perfectly, and is why I like the character so much, as I think that's where most of the series' humor comes from, is from Captain Qwark. When he isn't in a game, like say Deadlocked, those games start feeling empty and less humorous without him. But those stories still try to be funny in their own way regardless. Another thing I really enjoy about Captain Qwark's character is his tendency to make up some hilarious and probably untrue stories of his past adventures, combined with him often taking credit for others' accomplishments, like after Ratchet & Clank defeated the Tyrannoid leader on planet Tyrannosis. He took credit for that. In Ratchet & Clank 1, he took credit for defeating Dr. Nefarious's Amoeboids in Blackwater City. Well, we all knew what he was doing at that time.
Was I?
So Qwark may not have been a villain in many games, or even been a very good hero most of the time, but being the center of the series' humor and having good character development from hero to villain to hero again is a solid enough reason for Qwark to be at number 2 on this list. But only one villain remains in the number 1 spot on this top 5 list, and that's fan favorite character and Qwark's arch enemy, Dr. Nefarious. Dr. Nefarious is easily the best villain in the series in my opinion. He's literally the perfect example of an evil scientist gone robotic because of an accident caused by Captain Qwark, when accompanied by Lawrence, who usually always makes him so mad that he basically malfunctions and another character has to snap him out of it, which is a running gag in the series that I simply can't get enough of.
This is the best part of my day.
As a robot, Dr. Nefarious despises all organic life forms, which led to the creation of the Bio-Obliterator in Ratchet & Clank 3, to turn all organic life forms to robots. After that failure, he wound up on an asteroid for at least some time during Tools of Destruction, before embarking on a new plan to control time itself with the Great Clock. Even though Nefarious is the series' main villain, he didn't get much character depth or development until All for One, where after working with Ratchet, Clank, and Qwark, he starts to change his attitude toward them throughout the game. Even saving his arch-enemy Qwark, going by All for One's ending, it seems Insomniac had more planned for Nefarious' character development, and I'd definitely like to see how they take Nefarious in the next game. Will he turn good instead of being a villain again? That is something that I definitely can't wait to see. Dr. Nefarious is easily the main highlight of the series for me, due to the perfect balance between menacingly evil, absolutely insane, and outright hilarious, to the point of rivaling Captain Qwark in the humor department. All of that combined with some character development beyond his typical villain role add up to make Dr. Nefarious, in my opinion, the best villain in the Ratchet & Clank series. Now I should mention that I didn't bother bringing up the PS4 reimagining or film version of Dr. Nefarious, as he's sort of the same character, although organic up until the end. He does not malfunction because of that, and of course Lawrence was completely excluded entirely, which added onto Nefarious' character in the games. Well, for the humor side of things. Anyways guys, this video turned out to be much longer than I planned on it being, but I thought the added lore helped to understand why I like these characters the way I do. And that's it. That's all I really got for this video. And what are your top 5 Ratchet & Clank villains? Be sure to let me know in the comment section below. As usual, thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel. I've been Blueknight, and I'll see you guys back here next time. Goodbye.